Welcome back to another episode of Tuxedo Time, where we're tuxedos in its time.
Podcast edition.
What are we talking about today, Peckham?
We're talking about that moment when you decide to take a vacation and not film anything. And an insane story unfolds in front of your eyes. And you're like, holy shit. This would have been a great video.
An insane chronicle?
Yes.
A story? A yarn?
A yarn. It's a yarn for sure. So what better way than to tell the yarn than to do it on the podcast? But before we start, I have something to say. I just had some nuts. These nuts. You can hear it in my mouth.
What do you mean you
can
hear it?
That sounds horrible.
You can hear the nuts in your mouth?
Cashews specifically.
Take the nuts out of your mouth, Peckham.
Second, every time I come down here, I'm afraid I'm going to move the pillow and find a dead mouse.
Hold on. You're not eating regular nuts. You're eating dessert nuts. Dessert nuts.
I was eating honey roasted cashews.
Yeah,
They're
those aren't
delicious.
nuts. Those are dessert nuts.
Well, I was hungry and you're not hungry and I want tacos.
Okay. Off topic. Getting back to topic of this vacation. So when we take vacations, we have like different ideas of what vacations are supposed to be.
Wait, do you mean individually have different ideas of
You and
vacation? Okay. Like you mean you have a different idea than a vacation than I have.
Yeah, or if depending on your frame of reference, if it's with respect to me, then you have a different idea of a vacation than I have. You prefer more relaxation vacations.
Yeah, my idea of a vacation is like recuperate, recharge, not do really anything and like rest and pamper and self-care and
being bored,
eating really good food, staying in a really cool looking hotel that tickles my brain in the right way, and just like some basic exploring, because when we do our trips that we film for the channel, they're always like a fucking insane adventure. Not always, but sometimes, and shit happens and I'm just like, oh my God, I just want to like go on a vacation and do nothing and take advantage of like hotel amenities and treat myself to tasty food and drink a coffee. Your idea of a vacation is our trips, just not on camera.
Wait, what?
Our trips that we film for the channel, just not on camera.
Adventures.
Same.
There has to be a level of adventure to it.
Yeah.
So there's two components, either a level of adventure or a level of like doing something fun that moves.
That moves?
Yes.
Like a bowel movement?
No, like a craft that moves.
A craft that
Yes.
moves?
Yeah, like a vehicle that moves.
Okay. I see.
Yeah, so like you ride on something or you do something fun, not just sit around doing
riding
nothing.
on something is usually what you're opting for.
Yeah, like whether it be like skiing, snowboarding, snowmobiling.
The problem with you when you like pick out a vacation to do on something that moves is that you have like Dunning-Kruger where you think that like with no experience we can do this, like for example, multi-day ocean jet ski adventure.
Are we alive?
We didn't do it.
Are we alive right now?
We are, but we didn't do
When have I ever steered you astray?
Well, because we didn't do the thing. But that could have been that story, and it didn't turn out to be a good story.
We just wouldn't have gotten as far. It would have been exactly like the trip we did today, where we had to attenuate our list, cut our list down, and we would have just cut it short. But we would have had a grand adventure.
Okay, so Chris and I decided to take a real vacation. When was the last time you and I took an actual vacation and film it?
I don't remember.
That wasn't like a weekend, like getaway.
I don't remember.
Don't remember either, because there's a constant struggle when you have time off, which means I have time off, and we're going to do a thing. There's always that struggle between like, do we film this and make this into a vlog or a video or a film or a series? Or do we take a vacation? And in the past we have said, okay, this is going to be a vacation. And then we're like, well, we got this like cool thing booked. So like we could just like film one day and then we film the whole fucking thing. And then it becomes work.
For you.
For me. It's fun for you. It's all fun for you.
It's all fun for me.
Because you don't have the edit afterwards.
Yeah.
So we decided that we were going to take an actual vacation, and I left my camera at home. I took the A7C2, which is like a new rig that I have for shooting photos, just because I wanted to take a couple of pictures. I knew we were staying at a cool hotel, and I wanted to play with that camera. So, but that wasn't work. That was just like, let me take some family memories. We left the cameras at home, took an actual vacation, and we decided to go back to Arizona. We really had a good time there in 2018. That we filmed 2 videos there. We did adventures, jet skis.
Wow, we did film 2 adventures there.
Yeah, and times were different in my brain back then for YouTube. Yeah.
But the jet ski adventure on Lake Powell that we had
in 2018,
we're like, wow, this is such a vast, expansive lake and so many little slot canyons to explore, just so much to it. It'd be awesome to do like a multi-day exploration of this lake.
Yeah, we had a really good time, and that trip kind of shaped our like perspective on Arizona. I feel like we loved it, and we're like, this is the ultimate state. like to adventure in. We had a really good time on jet skis. And so when it came,
it's hot as shit.
It's fucking hot. So when we went there, it wasn't too bad because it was like off season for the first time. So when we were picking a location, we were like throwing out a bunch of ideas, and we were like, well, why don't we go back to Arizona off season, like pre like real hotness. Yeah. So
we also, both of us like going to the spa though. Don't get me wrong. I love a good spa day.
Yeah, I know you do. That's your weakness. What is it called? Your guilty pleasure.
Oh, it's not even guilty.
It's just a pleasure.
It's an innocent pleasure. Is that a thing?
Well, it is now. It's an innocent pleasure.
So yeah, I love getting massages.
And you got a facial for the first time.
I did, yeah.
How was that?
That was great. Getting pampered. So
you had a great experience on our trip.
I had a fantastic. That was like one of the best vacations I've ever been on.
That's excellent. I'm glad to hear that.
I'm happy for you, she says.
Yeah, I am.
So yeah.
I had a good time, by the way. You keep saying, oh, you had a miserable time. You keep quoting the, okay, we'll talk about the actual story of what happened.
Quote,
but like,
foreshadowing. This is a nightmare. We're never doing this again.
Sir, excuse me, sir, ma'am, listen. That quote was from the pinnacle of the fucking shit show that was happening.
The most passive aggressive, like, sure, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. I was like, oh my God, this is an actual nightmare.
Yeah,
after we capsized a jet ski, blew
okay,
offshore.
Right. We'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
So we flanked, this was like the adventure sandwich, I call it.
By the way, I got the most offensive, not really, but like compliment sandwich the other day on YouTube where like
from the comments,
and it was like an extreme compliment to your new niche is boring as fuck and I don't like it. I polled all your audience and nobody else likes it either, to back to here's another compliment. And I was like, wow, that's like, you know, it's not nice to tell somebody that their passion is boring.
Yeah, you know what? It's free content.
Don't yuck somebody else's yum. Anyway.
The spa sandwich.
No, not spa sandwich.
Sorry,
adventure sandwich.
Well, I guess it depends. What's the frame of reference? The bread or the stuff inside the bread?
Well, what's the exciting part? The stuff inside the bread or the bread?
Adventure sandwich.
It depends on the type of bread, because like if you have a really good sourdough,
no, it's a spa
like,
sandwich.
Really
it's a spa sandwich because we flanked the adventure with spa time. So
sort of.
We stayed at a place called High Country Motor Lodge
in Flagstaff, Arizona, which I would live there.
Flagstaff?
Yep.
So I was talking to people who are more familiar with Arizona, and apparently they were like, I was like, yeah, Becky said that she'd live there. And they're like, Flagstaff is like one of the most expensive places in Arizona. I was like, oh, that checks.
Well, what about Scottsdale? That looks expensive.
I don't know.
It's expensive.
I'm sure Phoenix.
I thought you were going to tell me it was like the most sketchy place in Arizona, and I was going to be devastated.
No, I don't think it is.
Doesn't look like it.
We had a good experience there. So anyway, we booked this hotel. We're meeting our friends Jason and Jenna.
Before, are you going to explain the hotel?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were meeting our friends Jason and Jenna there. So we all descend on this hotel and we meet. We fly from Buffalo, fly into Phoenix, rent a car, drive up to Flagstaff. Staying at this place called High Country Motor Lodge. And it's this, just to paint the picture, it's this renovated old, it looks like it was at one point an old school motel, kind of the classic double-decker 2-story motel that has like a courtyard in the middle with like a pool. Like
all the room doors are on the exterior of the building.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they've got like a main area that has like a restaurant, a gift shop, a little snack area, and all the amenities. Mm-hmm. And they've sort of rebranded it. They did a really good job. What style would you call it?
I would call it kind of like roadside mid-century meets a little Art Deco mashup.
All right. So
it's on Route 66. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The interior of the building, it's like
vibes on vibes on vibes.
Everything was like black and moody with like, and like dark. And the shop was so cool. Even their cooler where all of their like water and wines and pops and like whatever they had there was all, every package was beautiful.
Yeah. They curated the products they sold so that the design of the products was even nice and on brand.
Yeah. They had great coffee as well.
Very fantastic stay there.
Yeah.
They actually, the reason why.
Most comfortable bed I think I've had in a hotel stay in a very long time.
Really? Wow. Okay. The reason I found that place was because I actually was looking for Scandinavian spas. And let me tell you, they are very hard to find outside of Canada. Scandinavia.
I can tell you one reason why they are probably not that common in the Southwest.
Because it's hot as balls.
And nobody wants to go into a hot sauna or a hot tub when it's 150 degrees outside.
Right. So this place did have a sauna that you could rent out. And that was the reason, that was the draw. So we could have like a pre-spa day. So it's kind of like the intro to the spa at the beginning of the trip. So
it was more of a Scandinavian experience where you do like the hot thing and then you do the cold plunge.
Right. And the cold plunge was just the pool, but
it was fucking cold.
It's still pretty cold. So we did that. That was fun. And then that was kind of like the pregame for getting to Lake Powell.
I wanted a trip and I did not want to plan it. And so this, I think, was the first time in a really long time that you like planned 100% of a trip.
That's true. I planned this entire trip.
Because our friends were just like, whatever. That location is fine. And then you were just like, well, how about here?
They were hands off too.
They were, yeah.
I was just basically, I'm just going to freestyle this. And like, if this works out, great.
You did great.
So, well, thank you. So that also includes the fact that Jenna was driving her Rivian, which is the same model as mine, the R1S. And I didn't check to see if there's any chargers in Page.
So like suspense, drama starts at the High Country Motor Lodge going to Lake Powell when we realize there are no chargers up there.
Correct.
So range anxiety on a fucking high.
Major range anxiety on Jenna's behalf. So she's like...
I had it by proxy.
So we finished at the spa at like 10 p.m. and then she goes to the charger to like top up to 100% in Flagstaff to make sure she has every little bit of juice she can pack into those battery packs.
Yeah, she went to 100%, I think.
Yeah, and then, which takes a long time. Like once you get to 80%, it starts slowing down. And then by the time you get to 100, it's like trickle charging.
So we planned the next morning, we're out the door by 5 o'clock. We're meeting in the lobby. We're hitting the car at 5 o'clock in the morning. So like it's now 11. She's like at the charger. We're getting packed up, getting the car ready to go. And 5 o'clock, 4:30, the alarms go off.
Yeah. So 11 at night, you mean?
11 at night.
Yeah. So we're all packing up 11 at night, go to bed, and then wake up 4:30 in the morning. And then we're on the road pretty much by a little after 5, I think.
Yeah. It was actually a beautiful morning. I have a hard time getting up that early. Time worked in our advantage because we were on Buffalo time.
Yes.
So that worked out really well. But also it's so beautiful to wake up and see the sunrise in like the black motel with like the black gates on the pool.
Put a photo in the show notes.
Yeah. Show notes, BeckyandChris.com/podcast, whatever episode this is.
Yeah. And we'll show you a photo of that. It was a very beautiful, peaceful morning.
Yeah.
Lovely.
The hotel was just a vibe. Anyway, so we hop in the car. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. The reason why we got up really early is because we were headed to Page for a houseboat rental, and the houseboat rental place told you that to be there at 8 o'clock.
At 8 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
Before we go that way, though, just also a side quest.
Yes.
Becky Peckham drops on me that Overland Expo is in Flagstaff.
How could I forget? That was like one of the highlights.
So we're there in Flagstaff. We scheduled 2 days. So the day we arrived, it was like the last day of Overland Expo. Yeah. So you were like, oh, well, I don't want to make you go to it. I was like, Becky, we literally have nothing to do this day. It's just it's like a 0 day.
Yeah.
So let's just go. You love overlanding. Why wouldn't you want to go? That's like the equivalent of me being like, oh, by the way, Heli Expo's here. We have nothing to do today.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to drag you to Heli Expo. I'm like, fuck, we're going to Heli Expo.
Here's the thing. Secretly, I really wanted to go. But I didn't want to steer the trip in a weird way because our friends were going to be there and like I didn't know what our plans were and I didn't want to be like pause everything, cancel everything, and go into Overland Expo. Well, because it was like I've been wanting to go for like 2 years.
Yeah, so that was fun.
It was amazing.
You got to see a lot of cool products in person.
A lot of cool products that I've seen on the internet in person. Lots of cool rigs. I seen a highlight for me was like a mannequin sitting on a bucket having a shit with a toilet paper necklace. And I don't mean like a necklace made from toilet paper. I mean like a rope that held the toilet paper around your neck.
You become
so it would be at the ready mid shit when you were ready to have a wipe.
You are your own toilet paper dispenser.
Correct. And afterwards, when we got home and we went out to the land, I had to have a dump and I sat on our portable toilet and I went, oh my God, there's nowhere to put this toilet paper. I should have bought the toilet paper necklace.
You should have.
But I do think some people were offended by the mannequin.
You know what? Link to the mannequin in the show notes as well.
It was funny. Yeah, picture in the show notes. Anyway, so we went to Overland Expo.
So we're 15 minutes in and we haven't even left Flagstaff yet.
Well, can I just say something?
Yes, you can. You may. Yeah.
We got to meet Rochelle and Clay and Tanner from X Overland.
Oh yeah.
Which was really awesome because I've been loving their channel. It's been inspiring. It's nice to see, like really polished series on like the Overland side.
Yes.
If you've never heard of their channel and you like trucks or camping, they have like a lot of series.
I would almost say like go out on a limb and say even if you aren't into trucks and stuff, but you
if you like
watching like well-produced shows about travel.
Yeah.
They tackle travel that you don't see, i.e. overlanding. So they do a really good job and it's packaged in arguably the most polished stuff you'll ever see on YouTube.
Yeah, I agree.
Very high quality.
They take the filmmaking aspect really seriously.
Yes.
They've been to like Africa and Alaska and Baja. They've been all over.
Like
they did they did like Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, Finland, I think. Anyway, Nordic series was amazing.
Take the trucks all over the world.
All over.
And if people think that we're bent with production and stuff, they are like on another level.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. So met them. That was great. Okay. Fast forward back to present time in our storytelling.
Okay.
And
So we're on the way to Paige.
we're on the way to Paige. Jenna is like
freaking out.
hypermiling. I told her to draft behind our Kia. So in the meantime, there was a couple chargers that we found, not like Rivian chargers, but like kind of off-brand ones that were slowish. But you never know with these off-brand chargers if they're even A, going to work, and B, if you're going to be able to like, you know, have a decent charge speed. So she was really nervous about that. So she went right to the charger. First one she folded up to didn't work. So she had to go find another one. Eventually she found one that did work, and she stayed at the charger while we all went down to the boat to try to check in. So we showed up. I think we ended up showing up at like a little after 8:30. Was it?
Yeah, it was between 8 and 8:30.
So they told me on the phone, okay, so show up at 8. And this is at Wahheap Marina. So they said, show up at 8.
So wait, hang on a second. I don't know if we said this, but
Yes.
we were on the way to Paige.
Yes.
Because we rented a houseboat for 4 days
Yes.
where we were going to live on this houseboat on Lake Powell, explore.
Yeah.
And then we were planning on getting jet skis so we could do like day trips with the jet skis. So that's
Right.
why we went to Wahheap Marina to
So
do
it was going to be rent the houseboat, rent the jet skis.
4
and
days on the lake.
4 days on the lake, use the houseboat as like a home base.
Yeah.
And then journey from that with the jet skis.
That was the plan.
Yeah. So I rented the houseboat months in advance. They told me jet skis are first come, first serve, but it's off season, so we have plenty, so you'll probably be fine. Just show up at 8. You'll probably get jet skis. It probably won't be an issue. So we were there at 8:30, and
There was no lineup.
there's no lineup. Houseboat is not there. They said, oh, your reservation's not till 11. And I say, okay, well, I was told to come here at 8, so I guess we're waiting till 11. So I was like, in the meantime, can we rent the jet skis? And then they said, well, there's a wind advisory, so we're not renting jet skis today. I'm like, okay, but I mean, so what if I had rented my boat yesterday and took the jet skis? I'd still have the jet skis out today.
Yeah.
And they're like, correct. Like, you can come back tomorrow and get them. I was like, does that really make sense? Like, we're only going to use today to get to our destination.
This boat goes like 9 knots an hour.
Not
like
7 knots.
7. It's so slow.
Yeah.
So like going back to the marina.
We were anchored 3 hours away from the marina.
Yeah.
In this houseboat.
Yeah.
So they actually made an exception. It was like, okay, you know what? You're right. That just don't use them today. But actually, the problem is not that we're not going to rent them to you. The problem is that we don't have any left. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, damn. They're like, yeah, the bachelor party came and like literally rented every single one of them. And then like,
we decided then that we were just going to rent the jet skis from Antelope, whatever, Marina.
yeah, like on the way.
Because that's where we had rented them previously.
Yeah, but then you'd have to like dock. Then they like make you watch a safety video for like 2 hours. Then it would be like, it was a lot of messing around. And then randomly, they're like, oh, maybe we have two that we have. Let me just go check.
This is where the drama starts.
Yeah. So me and Jace are tasked with getting the jet skis. Meanwhile, it like fast forward, this is like now well into the afternoon. And so 11 goes by, no boat. 12 goes by, no boat. 1 p.m. goes by. It's 1 or 2 p.m. I feel like the boat.
I feel like it was like 2 o'clock.
In the meantime, we are going to go get the jet skis, and me and Jace roll up on them. One of them looks sort of newish, and I'm like, okay, great. This looks okay. The other one was this black one that had essentially a hole in the hull.
It looked like it was from fucking Baywatch 1982. Like that's where it came from.
So the front of it had this like literally a crack in it. And I'm like, oh, that looks sketchy. But I guess if they're seaworthy, if they're going to rent them to us, I suppose.
They were not.
So we got on them and they worked at that point. We took them, we got gas. I had to like put it into I'm not good at docking boats. I don't have any boating experience.
This is what I'm talking about. I have no boating experience. Proceeds to rent a houseboat for 4 days.
All right. So
and this is a 60-foot fucking boat.
Hold this thought.
Okay.
So when renting the 62-foot houseboat, I did my due diligence. I literally got on the phone and called somebody and said, hey, I have no boating experience. It doesn't look like there's anywhere on this thing that says I need a boating license.
They were like, you're going to give us money? Fuck it.
Yeah, pretty much. And they were like...
didn't the same thing happen in Maine when you were like, hey, I'm going to rent this boat. Do I need a license? And they were like, nope.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, so I have minimal boating. I have some boating experience. I didn't even remember that. Okay, so I've driven a boat before.
But not a 62-foot houseboat.
Not a 62-foot houseboat.
With 2 floors.
Double-decker 62-foot houseboat with upstairs hot tub and 12-person capacity with 2 outboard motors.
Okay.
So I called ahead of time and said, hey, I do not have a boating license. I have literally no boating experience. I've certainly never driven a houseboat. what do I need to make this happen? Do I need to do a course? And they're like, do you have a driver's license? I'm like, yes. They're like, that's all you need. I'm like,
that's fucked.
Really? They're like, yep. I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like, yeah, we're going to train you. I'm like, oh, great. They're going to train me. I'm going to be good. Okay. So with that said, I was reassured. And even then, the night before, Jason and I both read the manual, skimmed it enough.
I mean, you knew more than Mrs.
Well, we'll talk about that. But I thought we did our due diligence. But anyway, so the boat is now in the marina. It's not ready to go yet. We still have to wait for the person to come and check us out. In the meantime, we're going to get the jet skis.
So you guys are off getting the jet skis.
Mm-hmm.
We told Jenna to come because we thought, okay, things are going. The boat's here. The jet skis are on the go. Like, come down.
We're starting to load the boat with our stuff.
So she shows up. Rivian's full of their stuff. We bring them all down. And Jenna and I are kind of hanging out on the houseboat. And I'm not 5 minutes on this boat. And I'm going, oh, no. I am very nauseous.
It's just like on the marina, just doing this, just up and down ever so slightly.
Yeah. Now there was a wind warning, so there was like a bit of a wake kind of thing in the marina, and we were like in a calm marina, like where we were too, and it was rocking, and I was like, uh-oh. So 5 minutes into being on this boat, I'm like, I need to take Dramamine because I'm unwell, and if I don't take it now, and we are leaving shortly, I am not going to make it.
The thing about it though is that like once you're cruising with that big houseboat, like it wasn't that bad, was it?
Are you kidding me?
I don't remember being bad.
You don't remember going through that pass where the wake was like 4 feet and I was sitting outside? Do you remember when I said, can somebody please get me my fanny pack?
Not really, no.
Because I was about to fucking blow chunks. I needed gum and I was on the Dramamine. I was so
like, how the fuck did I find myself on a boat yet again?
I was raging. I was like, why are we on a boat? Like, this is literally like, I get so motion sick on like air. And then why did we plan a whole vacation?
Well, you know what my mother would say about that?
What?
Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. God. Beggars can't be choosers.
Anyway.
I don't want to plan the vacation. You plan everything. Okay. All right. But it might involve boats.
It doesn't matter if you plan it or I plan it. Because even if I plan it, you're still going to be like, well, I'm going to do this. And then I
would never do that. I am always a good, pleasant camper.
Helicopter. Hey, I'm not feeling so well. Can we like be done for the day? No, we have 5 more hours of flying to do. It's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Stay on schedule.
See? So anyway, so we're on the boat. I'm getting sick. I'm like, fuck. So you come back. Jet skis are good. We're ready to go kind of on that, but they're still in the marina. Like, how far? We need to hurry up with the story.
Okay.
So we get on the boat. They finally come to, it's like 3:30 in the afternoon. We're hours and hours and hours from when we were supposed to be there.
From 8:30 to 3:30.
They finally come on the boat to do the instruction. She's like
we were there for 7 hours before we were getting the briefing.
Yeah. The wind is getting worse and worse and worse, picking up. Mrs. comes in to do the thing with you guys. You guys are asking questions. She doesn't know the answer to them. Then Jenna goes, oh yeah, I read that in the manual. This is the answer to your question.
It's 80 gallons. That's the size of the tank.
And so we all knew, except for me, because I was high as a kite on Dramamine. I didn't know what was going on. But
and she was like, I've never really used this boat before. She's like, I've never rented this houseboat before. So I was like, oh wait, so you've never used this and you're the one training me on how to use it?
So finally you guys get your training. You do your thing. We're finally ready to disembark from the dock. So we can't put the jet skis on the boat in the marina.
You can't back out with the jet skis on the back, else they get bumped into the motors.
So Jenna and I are tasked with getting the jet skis, which is fine. We both ridden jet skis before. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
So we get on the jet skis, we pull out, the boat goes out into like the bay. We come out and there's a swell on this lake.
There are white caps.
It's probably like at least 3 feet. Like they were big.
Yeah.
And so we're out there and we're ripping around and I'm like, okay. And so Jenna kind of goes to talk first. And I'm realizing that like my jet ski is shutting off when I'm trying to just like idle. And so I like go a little bit and I go forward and I let go of the gas and the engine cuts.
Right.
So I'm like having to restart the jet ski anytime I want to go. So I'm like, all right, that's fine. So like I go a little bit. And the engine cuts off, so I just wait and I float and I'm floating away. So I turn it back on, I come around again, and I'm getting like, okay, I'm getting a bit ill here with this wake. And suddenly I'm like, I really don't feel safe. Like the nose of this jet ski is really far in the water, like further than I'm used to.
Further than I remember when I started.
Yeah. And also like further than from what because I remember riding jet skis a couple of times and being like, this is great. The nose is out of the water and like, that's it. But I was like, this nose is, and my feet are getting flooded now.
Yeah. Your water's in the running boards now.
Like big time. And I'm like, this is sketchy.
You're slowly sinking.
So the engine's cutting. I'm slowly sinking, and there's a wake, and I'm getting very sick. And I was like, I started panic. I was like, I need to get. Do you remember? I was like, I need to get. I gotta get out of here. And Jason was like, oh my god, okay, let's like get you in. And so I was like kind of freaking out. So like that was fine. Got off, and I was like, I think that the jet ski is sinking. And we were like, okay, it will be fine. I don't think like, and I was like, okay, maybe it's just because the wake, it was getting water a lot on it, and it was fine. So we get going, we start going halfway into like trying to get to the place that we were trying to beach, because we knew it was going to be like 3 hours. It was 5:00 at this point. Mm-hmm. I look out and I'm like, one of the jet skis is like underwater. The black jet ski is underwater. Like, holy shit. And so we have to like, we stop the boat. We pull it in. Jace gets out. He like, flicks it on, bails it out.
Luckily, there's a pail to bail out.
There's a bail there. So we do that, and then we keep going. We hit this kind of channel, and then the wake is worse, and I am like on the verge.
We're going through this narrow channel, and it's pretty good, but then it opens up a bit, and then there's like 3 channels that feed into it, so you can like go left, right, or backwards. And I think all of the waves from all the 3 feeding channels were hitting in this one little confluence.
It was horrible.
And it was just waves coming from everywhere. And you were getting like, when waves combine, they can be destructive or constructive. And I think it was just like, they were all combining to make even bigger waves. It was just very turbulent. This turbulent water. So and we were stopped. So we were just basically bouncing up and down.
And then we start going, but we're only going 7 knots. So like, you're still getting that, up and down slow feeling, instead of like when you're on like a speedboat and you can kind of like clip over that stuff, you don't feel that up and down as much. And that's what I find like when we go fishing in Newfoundland, like hod jigging, I don't like to go out on the boat because you have to cut the engine and you're just bobbing. Yeah. And that's when I get sick.
The bobbing is what gets you.
And so the boat goes so slow that you're bobbing pretty much the whole time. So
But it's also very heavy, so it takes it will cut through. It won't be bobbing. It'll bob less than like a smaller boat.
It was horrible. I was like on Dramamine, dosed up and like almost vomiting, and then trying to chew gum and trying to like breathe. And I'm sitting at the front of the boat and I'm looking out and nothing is working and everybody's having a good time and I am miserable because I'm like, how the fuck did I find myself on this boat about to vomit? Like I'm spending another vacation on Dramamine, basically. Another vacation on Dramamine. I was pissed. Anyway, we finally find a place to beach this boat like 3 hours later. I'm like doing okay at this point. And we're like, great.
And it was a very, very nice place. We're coming in just before sunset. Just to paint the picture, we found this nice secluded little bay. There were 2 other houseboats in that little recess, but they were so far away. And so it was still very private and you're still middle of nowhere. Yeah. And it was surrounded by like not one, but like 2 or 3 different mesas.
They were gorgeous.
Yeah. Just very, very nice. Like the kind of rock formations that you picture, like when you think of Arizona.
Yeah.
So we find this one little sandy area on the beach, and the person told us to basically drive the pontoon boat towards the beach, square with the beach, 1,500 RPMs on both motors, until you basically run the front of the pontoons up on the sand, and then put 2 anchors on each cleat on each side of, so 4 anchors total, 2 on each back cleats, and then run them to the beach, dig holes 3 feet deep, put the anchors in, bury the anchors, tighten up the ropes, you're good.
Sounds easy. It wasn't.
It was a fair bit of like...
It was a lot of work, but we were all in good spirits. It was fine.
Right.
I was feeling a bit better. Everyone was ready to be done with it. You were on land. Yeah, I was on land, and so we were just kind of team effort, getting these anchors dug. So we were
bobbing less. It turned into like a lever instead of like a boat going up and down like a wave. The front was pinned to the land, so the back was just moving a little bit.
Oh, yeah. We're all anchored in. We're all feeling good. Everything is great. So we decided that we're just going to like kind of hang out on the boat a little bit, watch the sun set,
start cooking supper,
and just like get settled into our rooms and stuff.
Meanwhile, I had a steak on the barbecue.
Yeah.
I was basically doing like a poor man's smoke, where I just had like a little tray with some wood chips, and I was just like smoldering some wood chips and like smoking it.
Yeah.
And we had a nice real fat ribeye that we got before we left.
It's past sunset, and we hear the wind, and then suddenly the boat like starts moving a lot. And I looked at suddenly, and I was like, Jace, are we supposed to be moving this much? And he goes, no. And then as he said no, the boat just like swings out to the left, like our sand goes to the right, and we are unbeached. We are unbeached in the dark one anchor like is in, did the anchors pull out or did
No, the anchors did not pull out. They were all still attached. But what happened was the wind was coming from behind us, I think, and it pushed our tail
up onto the beach.
It pushed our tail so we're more parallel. Like instead of being square with the shore, we were being pushed, and it pushed, and we would end up like parallel with the shore, and we got to a point where we must have pushed at such an angle because of the wind that the nose dislodged and slipped out. And so now the anchor lines just drop because the nose slips out. We're no longer having taut anchor lines. And then the boat completely rotates 180 degrees like it turns into a weather vane, just like any aircraft. It turns into a weather vane and we flip around backwards. So now we're backwards. The anchor lines are loose and looped underneath the boat. And we're like, well, fuck.
It is pitch black. We had the gangway pulled out of the boat, like onto the beach. But when the wind took us, the gangway let go and was now floating.
The gangway got pulled out of the boat and was now floating next to the boat.
In the water, yeah.
Which I didn't realize had a safety wire on it.
Tether on it, yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, if this gangway floats away, like it's floating right now, if it sinks or floats away, like that's a big issue.
Yeah.
So I basically just rip off all my clothes.
Front of the boat.
Just rip off my clothes.
Like in 1 second, you were fully clothed, and then the next, I blinked, and you were in your underwear, and you're like, "Don't look at my dick."
There's a video that Jenna has of me on the jet ski. Maybe we'll censor it and put it in the
maybe
put a censor bar up.
So what we decided to do was, okay, we'll get at this point it's like kind of blue hour. We decided, okay, we'll get the jet ski.
They're already tethered. Let's just try to use the thrust from the jet ski to like rotate the boat, and then if we can rotate the boat, then we can tighten the anchor lines up, and then that's the easiest fix. You don't have to do anything. So I hop on the jet ski. I'm like giving her full throttle.
Fully naked except for your underwear.
Correct. Like what a sight to be seen.
Oh, it was hilarious. It was cold too.
And it was like, it wasn't even like regular underwear I was wearing.
You were wearing my package underwear, which are kind of like thin.
So if anybody some
and your dicky bird goes into that like pocket in the front.
So some dudes, okay, unless you're a dude, you don't know what my package underwear is. And even some dudes don't know. So just to paint this picture, the my package underwear has a compartment for your junk. So it's like placing your genitalia into basically a compartment made of fabric, and it supports the genitalia.
Yeah.
And what it does is
that's a nice way to say it.
So the fabric will actually insinuate itself between your inner thigh and scrotum, so that you don't get your scrotum stuck to your leg when it's like hot and sweaty out.
Got it.
So that's the benefit, right?
I think like the disbenefit of it is that like it seems like there's like once your dicky bird is in that like pocket, the fabric.
It's a penis, Becky.
Okay, the whole cock and balls is in the package. Because it's called My Package.
This is like a doctor having a podcast and a layperson having
when your dicky bird and balls are inside the package.
Yes.
Now you have one layer of fabric over your bird.
Whereas
instead of like two.
Most men are used to using like a fly, which has at least a double layer of fabric over your genitalia.
So she's like, it is a light ass fabric, and your bird is like, okay.
And they're not the newest. They're not the newest underwear too. Like
they're probably your most oldest.
And so like the fabric is thinner. So it's like a thin.
They should be in the trash, not on your body.
Okay. Well, you know what? Anyway, let's not disparage my underwear here at this point. We're getting off topic, but side quest, that's the My Package underwear, and I was wearing it, and it was I didn't have time to be self-conscious. We needed to get this boat righted.
Scrotum.
Not the time, Peckham.
What did you call your dicky bird?
Well, I called my ball sack my scrotum because that's the name for it.
What'd you call the dick part?
The penis.
Penis.
Yes. Yes. And then of which the glands, which is the head. Anyway, we're not going to get into an anatomy lesson here.
Okay.
Save that for after the podcast.
So he gets on the jet ski. His dicky bird is in these package underwear. He's like, don't look at my dick.
I don't care at this point. And then when he tells him not to do it, everybody, of course, looks at it. Anyway, so I'm on the jet ski, giving her full throttle, like throttle to the bar, basically trying to move the boat. The boat would not budge. No. Because
she was short. She was land short.
And like you talk about, you don't realize the aerodynamic forces at play here. When you have probably 50 mile an hour winds, that's turned a 62-foot houseboat and treated that as a weather vane, that thing ain't budging. Like that's like in a streamlined fluid medium now with the wind completely stabilizing that boat. And that boat is rock solid in that one heading.
And it's partially beached as well.
And partially beached. And yeah, exactly. So there's anchor lines here.
Which is supposed to be, but.
Right. So the jet skis aren't going to work. Okay. So let's remove the jet skis and we'll bring them kind of like cattle up and on top, and we'll anchor them somewhere to the side of the boat so that they're out of the way. So we do that. The jet skis are now kind of placed to the side of the boat. Now the question is, what do we do about this snafu where the boat is rotated 180 degrees and the anchors are underneath?
The light is going. We are beyond civil end at this point,
Correct.
and it is becoming
civil
pitch
end
black.
means when night truly starts from an aviation standpoint.
When blue hour is over.
Yes. So now it's dark.
Yeah.
And okay, the only
hours have passed, by the way. Dinner is still cooking.
Yeah, so
and it shouldn't be. But
I went and blew out all those smoke things. So the steak is now sitting on in the barbecue still. It has come up to the temperature I wanted it at, but I just blew out the flames and hoped that it didn't ruin it. So we're pausing the steak, and now the question is, how are we going to fix this? What are we going to do? The only thing we can really do at this point to move the boat is use the boat's engines. But as Jace astutely mentioned, we can't turn these motors on without risk of getting the ropes from the anchors, the anchor lines, snagged and caught in the props, and then we've got a really big problem because now we're
up Shit Creek without a paddle and no engine.
Now exactly. Now we are no longer anchored. We are not only not anchored properly, but we have no engines.
At the time, it was a big shit show, but I will say, like, it was really cool to see you and Jace like interacting and problem solving and like communicating. There was no like bro whatever takeover vibes. Like everyone was collectively working and everyone had a role, and like nobody was yelling and there was no toot or ego.
Yeah, I think
which
that
is nice.
It was respectful. Everybody had different ideas,
and I think that's why, like, when I look back on it, it was like a fun challenge and problem to have because nobody blew up at anybody and everyone was communicating and saying good job and you do this and I do that. And
yeah, it was a true problem solving. It
was a good teamwork.
Yeah, it was a team effort.
So a little bit of time, like we kind of just hit the pause button. Like we turn off the stove and everything. Dinner is fucked now, but we need to kind of figure
Jenna's
out.
risotto turned into glue.
Yeah. My potatoes were like so overcooked. It was horrible. But anyway, it was fine. So we take some time and we're trying to like figure out, like, before we make any rash decisions and like undo these ropes.
Well, here's the thing.
Like, let's go through a bunch of scenarios and figure out like what's the best approach here. We were trying to avoid completely disanchoring and starting from scratch because it was pitch black and there were other boats and there were rocks and obstacles around.
My biggest concern was visual reference.
Yeah.
Coming as a pilot coming into this, the problem would be if you lose visual reference, things can go south very quickly.
Yeah.
And that's what I didn't want to do, especially I didn't want to detach from the shore with 50-mile-an-hour winds in the pitch black. That's kind of was a last resort. But I think when we went through all the scenarios, so the gangway was the other big issue too, right?
Right.
Because
the gangway is still in the water.
The gangway is still in the water at this point. So I go to the front of the boat surveying and I come back and all of a sudden Jace is he's at the front of the boat where the gangway usually goes, but that is now turned around facing into the river.
It's probably like at least 3 feet down.
Yeah.
Like away from.
So he somehow grabs the gangway and lifts it up, beast mode, somehow inserts it into the slot. Now, if you picture like a long plank, he is grabbing the plank in the most awkward way on his stomach, reaching over the edge of a boat.
Like Powder Toast Man.
But also like not able to, like he is manipulating this metal gangway, not at the center of mass. Like if he could pull it up from the middle where it was balanced at the center of mass, that would be like still a very formidable challenge. But he's grabbing it probably 1/3 the way at like the 1/3 mark, 1/3, 2/3 mark. So it's like not a very easy thing to lift up, but somehow he's lifting this up in the most unideal way, somehow muscles it into the slot. I'm here squat down like rice picking style in my package underwear, cheering him on. Yeah, being the hype man, trying to like put my hands into and help, but I'm not like doing any work. He's doing all the work. I'm just like here, like I'm like providing a homeopathic amount of force to help him here.
Okay.
And he somehow just like single-handedly goes beast mode, puts it all in, full adrenaline rush, and gets the gangway back into the boat. I don't understand how it happened. I don't get it. The dude is superhuman, but also not because he can't even bench press me, but we can talk about that later. So he gets that in there. Okay, that's one problem solved. The second problem is still that the anchor lines are underneath the boat and we're flipped around and they're tangled up underneath the boat. So his solution was, okay, I will go ashore since I'm already like half wet here. I will go ashore. You detach the anchor lines and I will pull them ashore so they're no longer a concern with the motors. You'll put the motors on and we'll re-beach. I think we decided I was apprehensive to do that because I didn't want to fully detach. I said, let's leave one anchor line, the one that's taut, connected, and see if we can just rotate by going full like wheel one way and see if we can rotate the boat that way by leaving one anchored. We tried that. I think we tried that. It didn't really work. It was just like
we were too beached, I think.
Yeah, we were literally parallel with the shore at this point.
Yeah.
And I was like, it just wasn't working. So we had to go to plan B, which was detach all the anchor lines, drift out to shore, and then just make another pass at the beach, but this time in pitch black.
Yeah.
So it wasn't quite pitch black. We had about a 3/4 moon, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of what was a bit of a saving grace here, was that like we were almost at, like the next night was a full moon.
Yeah. So the nose of the boat was again pointed into like the harbor. So I could see, I just aimed
and by harbor, you mean it was a beach. It wasn't a harbor. It was just a beach.
No, there's a beach, but it was like a rounded kind of harbor. Like it was like a little inlet,
like a bay,
like a safe, like a bay. Yeah. So I'm like, the nose of the vessel is pointing into the moon. I'm just looking at the moon. I was like, I have a reflection of a moon on the water. I can see that. And I'm just aiming for that because that's my visual reference. I said, Jace, take this headlamp. Make sure you have a beacon for us to aim at, because as soon as we look back, that's going to be pitch black and we're not going to see anything. So he luckily had his...
we all had headlamps.
Yeah, we all had our headlamps. So we're now out in the open water in the middle of this bay.
Jenna's at the back of the boat keeping watch. I'm at the front of the boat.
Yes.
And all I could think was like, holy shit, I had my walkie-talkies in my hand. I was going to bring them and I didn't. And that would have made that whole day
walkie-talkies
so
would have
much
been
easier.
very good to have to talk to people, but we didn't. So I digress. So
you couldn't hear, like when I was at the front of the boat and Jenna was at the end of the boat, we couldn't hear each other. Like you had to run to the middle or to the other person to talk to them.
So meanwhile, we were like, okay, let's turn on the whatever the lights are called, like the big floodlights that are supposed to be on the front of these boats.
They don't work.
They don't work. Like Swiss cheese model, right? Like all these things happen and line up, and it's just the perfect storm. Oh my God, we have no light. So basically we're just going blindly. We have to go blindly towards a little dot on the beach, but we haven't found that dot yet. So I'm turning. I think I'm in the middle of the harbor. I turn back towards the shore and I lose visual reference with the moon because it goes off my right side, off my starboard side. And I'm like, Becky, I'm invert in IMC. And she knows exactly what that means.
Oh yeah. I was like,
I have no...
say less, I got you, motherfucker.
Yes.
So I have a headlamp because I'm always prepared. I go out,
and the sight lines from the wheel is
they're
like
terrible.
There's like big pillars there, so like you have the best sight lines. So she runs out to the front of the boat.
We're 12 feet in front of this speedboat, and I'm like, you need to reverse now.
We're barreling towards the speedboat. I throw it in reverse. We're still going towards the speedboat because this thing weighs so much. It takes so long for like the course to reverse. So we finally start getting some reverse thrust, and then Jenna yells out from the back of the boat, "Oh my God, stop! The jet skis are getting sucked into the engine." So I'm like, oh my God, do I go forward and hit this very expensive looking boat and then bring some other patrons in the middle of nowhere into this conflict? And then they might have guns, who knows? Or do I just bite the bullet and say, if something's gonna get damaged, it's just gonna be the jet skis and we're gonna have to be okay with that and then just square up with the marina. So I just said, okay, let's go backwards.
By the way, the jet skis weren't at the back of the boat; they were at the side. But one of them was like shifted or something.
Yeah, the
black
tether line was too long, and it like got free and like went around right to the back of the boat. Yeah. And so like I'm like, all right, we're just gonna have to do it. We have to go reverse. So I'm going reverse, waiting, and then all of a sudden I hear and it's just a loud bang, and I'm like, oh my God, we killed the jet ski, possibly one of the motors on our boat. And then we look outside, and somebody in like the other end of the bay is shooting off fireworks. And we're just like, oh my God, these guys are having like the best time of their lives, and we are in the middle of a fucking crisis.
Chaos.
It's a
Remember when
crisis.
I said this is a fucking nightmare?
At this point, you're like, this is a fucking nightmare. We are never doing this again.
Okay, because let me just say, what I was also seeing was not just this boat in front of us. I was seeing the entire houseboat that belonged to that boat watching us, and they could hear us freaking out because we were close to them. And then there was also a huge rock to your right as well.
Anyway,
so I'm out in the front, and he's reversed enough that we're away from the speedboat now.
And you can only see the rock because we're close enough to it to see it with a dim headlamp.
Yeah. So
in a 62-foot houseboat.
So we finally are like away from these obstacles, and you're like, okay, do you see Jason? I'm like, okay, cut to your left, cut to your left, cut to your left.
And then Jace's dot
at your 10 o'clock.
comes into view.
He's at your 11 o'clock, and then you can finally see him.
And I'm like, oh my God, we drifted so far.
We
and
were
that
really
was the
far.
50-mile-an-hour wind.
Yeah.
Like it was the wind just pushed us so far. I was like, okay, we have a visual reference with the shore. We can see it. I'm just going straight for that little dot. I don't know where the shore is. I don't know where anything is. I just know where that dot is. And it's hard to tell the distance.
I was visual reference on the front, just making sure that we weren't near that speedboat. Mm-hmm. Jenna was at the back freaking out because like that jet ski was like capsized at this point.
Yes.
Fully upside down, like underneath the water.
Yep.
And so we just were like, all right, we're just going to have to give her. So finally you got visual reference to Jay. So I went back and I started helping Jenna, and we started pulling that jet ski up a little bit. And we finally docked the boat. We get the anchors tied on. I remember looking out and it's like dark, and Jace has been in the water for hours.
Yeah.
And he's like shivering and he looks miserable. And I'm like, oh my God, he's going to be like, I'm never going on a trip with these people ever again. Like, he looks so pissed.
This was at this point, it was like, felt like I was like, this is literally all my fault.
Yes. That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. And I was honestly having flashbacks to the Bahamas when we were going through that trip where we went and there was like a mouse infested Airbnb.
We're going to link to that video in the show notes too, because that was another Chris Nicholas special.
Yeah. And that's what I called it. I was like, this is a Chris Nicholas special. Like, welcome to a Chris Nicholas vacation, everybody, where there's like a fucking drama and like he thinks that he can do something that he probably shouldn't be doing, and then we get ourselves into a situation that's absolutely insane. So that's kind of it. So it is now 11 o'clock at night. Jace hops back on the boat. He's shaking. I'm like, okay, we're going to make him a tea because he's going to have to
get him a towel.
He goes, that was fucking awesome.
He was like, that was everything, man. That was so good. Like, did you see the problem we had to overcome, and we all came together, and I
was like, dude, I love this fucking guy, man. Like, this could have been horrible, and it was a nightmare, like what had happened, and like almost hitting the boat. We're lucky that it wasn't worse than it was.
Oh, but definitely. Like we had a few narrow misses there for sure.
Definitely. And like, it was a classic Chris Nicholas vacation.
Classic Chris Nicholas snafu.
You know, it's funny because when we did the Bahamas trip, there was somebody else that was supposed to come with us, and I remember saying, wow, it's a really good thing that they didn't come, because this was a nightmare.
Yeah. And
so I was thinking like, holy shit, this time is a nightmare, and we do have people with us,
and they're never going to want to travel with us again.
And I really thought, and then he came in and he was like, oh God, that's awesome. I was like, okay. So at this point, it's 11 o'clock. The boat is finally squared away. We're tight to the shore. Everything is feeling good. The wind is ripping.
I fired the barbecue back up.
Fire the barbecue. I'm like,
finish the reverse sear.
Potatoes are well overcooked. The risotto is glue. I have the tea fired up. Chris sits down on the bench. It's 11 o'clock. I hand him a cup of tea and I shot one photo. And that is all the evidence that I had that this whole thing had happened.
I look like I'm done.
My
brain has been turned to mush, and my body is in a similar state.
The look on your face, you were wearing like you finally put clothes back on. Like, you weren't in your underwear this whole time.
Imagine if we crashed into that boat, I'm in my fucking My Package underwear.
Oh my God.
Trying to explain that to the person.
She's like, yeah, so I was like, sir, I could see your dicky bird. But like at some point, I think it was before, we were like, okay, we need to get like bathing suits on, rash guards on, like headlamps were ready to go, water shoes and stuff. And so you had that on. But yeah, you're sitting at the table and you have your rash guard on, and your hair is like partially wet and just like down and stringy in front of your face, and you have a cup of tea, and you look at me with just the most exhaustion laden face I've ever seen in my life. And they were like, all right, well, it's time to eat, I guess. And so we eat
we had a great meal though.
It was a little overdone, but yeah, it was a good meal. But I also remember immediately after eating, I felt very motion sick and went to bed, and I was not well all night long.
Yeah. And the sleeping accommodations weren't like the best. Like, it says can fit 12 people on this boat. That would impact. Like, 4 people was comfortable. 6 would probably be still comfortable-ish. Anything more than 6, I feel like it'd be packed.
Yeah.
But we all had our own bedrooms, and the mattresses were just like foam, like kind of. They almost were like, like outdoors.
It was like camping.
It was like camping. It felt like a camp sleep. Yeah.
It was fine. Yeah. So, I mean, after that fiasco, we had a really good trip. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out the way we wanted to, because like our idea was a home base in the houseboat, use the jet skis to explore. Of course, the next morning we woke up, the capsized jet ski wasn't really working.
Full of water. That was the one actually that was working before.
And the other one was like half sunk because it was just filled up with water.
We bailed out the water on both of them.
Yeah.
The one that was capsized, and that one wouldn't start now.
And then the black one that was shutting off when I first took it, we were just like, this is too sketchy.
We're not going out on this jet ski on an adventure that when it keeps shutting off like this, like if the starter goes on this or the battery goes, like, we're going to
be screwed. And there was no cell reception or anything out there. So
we're off grid right now.
Thankfully, everybody had like a really open mind and was cool with like, we were so tired from the following night that we like just got up, and we ended up getting in contact through radio with the marina, and they were kind enough to send, actually our water pump broke.
Yeah, so the water pumps on the boat broke as well. So they were coming by to fix that. And they're like, hey, by the way, like our jet skis, they're not working either. And they were like, well, we might be able to get some jet skis out, but it might not be today. It might be tomorrow. I was like, well, the whole purpose of this was like, go explore these canyons. We're not going to explore it in the houseboat, unanchor and re-anchor every time. Like,
yeah. Now we're like, that would give us like one day.
Right. So they're like, okay, well, we'll see what we can do. Would you take a speedboat? I'm like, yeah, a speedboat's fine. I mean, that's fine.
And honestly, if we were going to do this trip again, we would have just taken the speedboat in the first place.
Oh my God, 100%.
As a vessel with like friends exploring, it just made way more sense. It was faster. It was more comfortable because we weren't wet.
Much more comfortable.
And the temperatures, like, yeah, it's Arizona, but it was not like, it was warm during the day, but the water was really cold because it was like off season.
Right.
And so had we been on jet skis, I think we all would have been really cold and really uncomfortable. It would have been a big slog where we got to go really far distances on the speedboat and just had a really good time all together as friends, being able to just like hang out and have our lunch on the boat and like go up and explore these canyons and have conversations with each other. Because if we were on jet skis, it would have been like so one person's gone off and now we have to wait for the other person and nobody's able to talk and have a conversation. So what ended up happening was that they brought the speedboat and took the jet skis and fixed the water pump. But I mean, that was our second full day and they didn't get there till 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So we spent the whole day on the houseboat, which wasn't intended, but everyone had an open mind and was like really cool with it.
Yeah. Because like Jace brought fishing rods. And
so we were fishing and we kind of hanging out. We went in the hot tub and we were like laying around and just kind of having a good relaxing time. Yeah. And then we got to do like a nighttime adventure. And then the following day, which was our third and only full day really to explore, we went and the whole day we were gone. And that was great because of the speedboat, we were able to go fast. And so I didn't get sick. I wasn't sick at all that day.
Yeah.
We spent the whole day on the boat and I was fine.
Yeah. And we pretty much hit every single spot that I like 90% of the spots that I had on my map, which was actually awesome. So I got to see like all the little spots. We saw this like hole in the top of this rock where it's like a double arch. It's called a toilet bowl.
Yeah, that
was
like
cool. Drifted the boat around and through it. All these like slot canyons that are just flooded with water. We just explored these little narrow passageways. It was like a Disneyland ride. That
was really cool to like go up and like see how far we could get up these like slot canyons.
Yeah, that was the most fun. That was the highlight and stand up for me for sure.
Yeah, so it all ended up working out, even though we had this kind of nightmarish start to it and like capsized a jet ski and the other jet ski was messed up. Like at the end of the day, it ended up working out really well and we had a really great time.
Yeah.
Coming back, I got sick again on the boat a little bit. I didn't take any Dramamine because I didn't want to be fucked up for 2 days. But after we got off the boat for
like day 4, we woke up early in the morning
and we left. We were like, okay, everybody, we're getting up at 5 o'clock. But we didn't know if it was like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock.
I think we were on the border of the time zone.
Yeah.
Because like you walk to the front of the boat and like your GPS would like kick in and then be like, oh, it changes the time.
Yeah.
And then you walk to the back of the boat and then your time zone would change again.
So anyway, we got up for sunrise and like everyone had their roles. Like I was on coffee duty.
You were like food mama.
Yeah. I felt like I was like, which is good because I like that role, like getting food ready for everybody in the morning, making sure coffee's going, get breakfast running. And Jen and I kind of tag team the meals mostly. And then Jace was up as soon as like blue hour hit, he was out digging up the anchors.
He was Anchorman.
And then, eventually we got going and it was probably 5:30. But
he loves being uncomfortable.
For like 3 or 4 days later, I still felt like I was on a boat.
You just feel like you were rocking.
So anyway, that was the trip. And like, it's funny because like all this was happening and I got that one photo of you having your tea and I was like, wow, this would have been a really good video. Like, it would have been really entertaining. It would have been really difficult to film.
It would have been.
Because everybody had a role and everyone had to be on. Like, I think Jenna made a video, but like,
it was hard to capture.
She couldn't film because she had a role and she needed both hands and you know what I mean? And same with me. And it was dark too. So I think it would have been impossible to film, but it's fun to look back on it. And I guess now we have this podcast, recollecting, is it the word? Recalling the story and that. And, at the end of the day, it's like type 2 fun, right? At the time, it's like really difficult and you have to overcome all of these things and, communicate and troubleshoot and problem solve. And then it sucks and it's uncomfortable. And then when you look back on it, you're like, oh, that was pretty fun. Would I do it again? I don't think I would do a houseboat again. Not because of the fiasco, but actually because I really don't like spending my vacation on Dramamine.
I would 100% do a houseboat again. And I looked over at Jace at one point. I was like, Jace, soak this all up with me, man, because this is the last time I will ever do this vacation in my life. And he was like, oh no, man, Becky's having a good time. I was like, nope, she is not.
It's not that I didn't have a good time. I did have a good time, but I don't really like spending my vacation feeling motion sick.
No, I don't blame you.
And I don't like spending my vacation on Dramamine because I don't remember it as well. I'm foggy the whole time and I feel like high. And even like 2 and 3 days later, like after I've taken it, if I haven't taken it, it's still like, I'm not right. I'm just really fatigued and tired. It's just not fun at all. to be on that medication.
I had a fantastic time.
And people are going to say, well, did you try the C-bands? Did you try I have literally tried everything. I've tried C-bands, meclizine. I get really bad side effects from that I just can't handle. It's almost worse than feeling like I'm going to throw up, dilated eyes and the really, really dry throat and mouth. Like, it's horrible. And like the
scopolamine patches,
scopolamine packet, yeah, same thing, same side effects.
All your anticholinergic side effects.
Yeah, and it just sucks, right? So
I think the takeaways though for me was that I had a fucking blast, and that was like,
I know you did.
That was a great trip. That was like the level of adventure that I am here for.
Yeah,
the exploration, the troubleshooting, the problem solving. It's just like feeling of like doing something that's like I've never done before.
Yeah,
it's like colossal. I'm like, yes, bring it on. It makes me feel invigorated. It's the zest, the spice of life.
Oh my, I've never seen you so passionate about something.
Anyway,
helicopters.
But that's the same thing. That's why I love helicopter trips. It's just like, okay, a lot of it's troubleshooting, a lot of it's extreme adventure, and you're places that not many people have been.
Yeah.
And you're on your own, self-sufficient. It's a fucking adventure.
That's why I like helicopter trips too. Like, especially now that even though I do get motion sick in the helicopter, not near as bad as in a boat at all. And I know how to manage it now.
Yeah.
And so when I fly in a helicopter, I really have to take Dramamine unless it's like a really turbulent day and I'm like, my stomach's off anyway, which is fine. But that's why I love helicopter trips, specifically thinking about, you know, when we did the Newfoundland trip, doing a trip like that again up in Labrador, being really remote, troubleshooting, going line of sight, what's the weather doing, problem solving, trying to figure shit out, getting stranded places, you know, hopefully nothing bad happening. But like, these are the things that I really, really like out of a trip. Like if you took away the motion sickness from the boat, yeah, I would have had the exact same feeling as you, because I had a blast when we were on the speedboat and exploring all those things. I had a blast in the hot tub at night with a full moon.
Yeah,
you know?
we were literally on the top of the boat in the hot tub with no lights on and just everything's lit by the full moon.
It was really
and
cool.
You could see like the silhouettes of the mesas around. It was a perfect temperature.
Yeah.
Very nice. And also being able to share it with like great company too, like some really close friends of ours.
Yeah.
And also the takeaway too for me was like, it was interesting because you can choose to a degree on how you react to things.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that would have been like a vacation ruiner for people. It would have soured the vacation.
If you had certain types of personalities butting heads, it could have been a really bad experience.
That too. And thankfully we didn't. Mm-hmm. Everybody got along very well. And it also was people who were able to look at it as like glass half full.
Yeah.
And not like, oh, I paid this much money to rent this colossal houseboat and it was a disaster. It was more of the opposite of like, hey, like we were faced with these challenges and we prevailed.
Yeah.
And that's just so satisfying.
And we came away with a great story and a lot of memories too.
Yes, exactly.
Always good. All right. Well, that's our story of how we went on a vacation.
We didn't finish the sandwich.
What's the sandwich? Oh,
the spa sandwich.
Spa sandwich. We went to the spa at the end.
So then we went to Sedona and went to this like nice little resort spa, and it was just a nice wind down.
I had the best massage I've ever had in my entire life.
And we had milk and cookies.
We did have milk and cookies. Anytime that I get to have a chocolate chip cookie is a good day.
All right, we'll end it here though.
All right, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you in 2 weeks. By the way, just a little update on YouTube. So if you're watching our channel, we're going to be posting a video every second Sunday now on our main YouTube channel at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. And then the weeks that we don't post, we're going to be posting a podcast on Thursdays at 7 o'clock in the morning as normal. So this podcast every second week, we kind of skipped a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
But that's going to be the new upload schedule until September because I need time and brain power.
Something big's coming.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, see you guys. Bye.
Bye.